up your YouTube, search for Stukeley Meadows, watch on your big screen. Get yourself comfy, this could take a while, what a happy scene. Something new every day for your long-term memory. This is so exciting, it is nearly time for a Stukeley assembly. Good morning everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday reading assembly. For each other we, every day we, to improve we, together we will. Every single Stukeley day we focus on. Our Stukeley motto is, our Stukeley curriculum is, and 4 words that make the magic happen. Yes. Okay, I've just realised we've only got today and 1 more reading assembly left before we break up for Christmas. So we've got to get a move on with our Christmas Carol story. So we're going to miss out this author bit. Gone. I need to get straight into Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. If not, we're not going to have time to finish it, and that would be a disaster. So, here it is. So far, we've met Scrooge. Miserable man, horrible man, lots of money, hates everyone, hates Christmas. He's gone back to his house. He's started to see weird things, strange things have appeared. Then he meets a ghost. He meets the spirit of Jacob Marley, who he used to work with. And Jacob Marley says, "Change your ways, Scrooge. Don't be a miserable man. It will all come back to haunt you." Scrooge says, "Bah, humbug." And that's it. We now join the story where he's just closed the door, closed the shutters on the windows and gone back to bed saying, "Humbug." Soon after, Scrooge was woken up by the clock striking 1. Dong! He held his breath and peeped out of the safety of his cupboards. Nothing. He breathed a sigh of relief. Then, like a bolt of lightning, a bright flash filled the room as the curtains around his bed were flung violently apart. Scrooge gasped. His heart thumped as his eyes struggled to adjust to the light. A figure gradually became clear to him, and it was a small, fresh-faced little boy, but with long grey hair and really sinuous, skinny arms that made him look grotesquely old. It was the strangest thing that Scrooge had ever seen. A boy's face, long grey hair, and old scraggly arms. But the strangest thing was that from the top of his head sprang a bright, clear fountain of light. "What or who are you?" said Scrooge. "I am the ghost of Christmas past." "Long past?" "No, your past. Don't be afraid, Scrooge. I have come to do you good." "I can't think that it can be any good. What would be good for me is a good night's sleep," said Scrooge, terrified. The spirit ignored him. "Come with me," beckoned the spirit, walking towards the window. "Touch my heart and you will fly with me, Scrooge." I don't want to." But Scrooge reached his hand out. He touched the heart of the spirit, and they flew through the night sky. They flew away from the mists of London to beautiful fields filled with snow, and so many happy children that it seemed that the crisp, cold air was laughing. "Why are you crying?" asked the spirit. I'm not crying, said Scrooge, wiping a tear from his eye. Suddenly Scrooge was honest. "This is where I was a little boy," said Scrooge. "I was a boy just here." Scrooge and the spirit stopped flying, and they came to rest in a cold classroom, empty except for one boy sitting in a corner reading. So Scrooge has gone back to when he was a little boy, and he's seeing what it looked like. The spirit is showing him his past. "That's me," said Scrooge. "Poor lonely Ebenezer Scrooge, that's me. I spent many Christmases here with only my books and no other company." "Until," said the spirit, asking Scrooge to come further. "Until the time my sister took me home," said Scrooge. And as Scrooge watched the little boy, the young Scrooge in the classroom suddenly grew a few years older, so Scrooge is seeing his life happening in front of him. The boy walked up and down the room, just like Scrooge had done, waiting for somebody or something. With a blast of energy, the door burst open and a lively girl came in. "Oh, Father has grown kinder," she laughed. "You are to come home forever," said Scrooge's sister. "Oh, dear sister," said the boy, holding her tightly and laughing with joy. "My dear, dear sister." "Your sister grew to be a very kind woman," said the ghost of Christmas past. "I know," said Scrooge, "and then she died." "Did she leave a son behind when she died?" said the spirit. "It was my nephew," said Scrooge, suddenly feeling very humble, and he wished at that moment he could talk to his nephew, but he had ignored him years ago. Come on," said the spirit. "Time is short. We have more to see." The spirit clicked his fingers, and all of a sudden, the whole scene changed around them. Now, Scrooge was looking back at his life again, but this time, Scrooge could see himself tapping his feet and smiling, and he heard some Christmas music playing. Around him, 40 laughing people danced and sang and clapped. They danced in and out of each other, pranced up and down, bumped into each other. They apologised before moving on, and everybody was bright-eyed, red-cheeked and out of breath. They rested, they drank, they danced again, and then a fiddle kept playing and they all danced merrily. On the tables there was a delicious spread of turkey, ham, mince pies, Christmas cake and plenty of beer, and the dancers all drank as they danced round the room. The old Scrooge was watching this and then saw the younger Scrooge. "Scrooge, my boy," said a big fat man, "Merry Christmas." The older Scrooge watched the younger Scrooge raise his glass in the air and called, "Merry Christmas, Mr. Fezziwig." "It's old Mr. Fezziwig," said the old Scrooge. "He used to be my employer. He was my boss." "Was he a good man to work for?" said the spirit. "Oh, he was the best," said Scrooge. "He had the power to make us happy or unhappy, to make our work a pleasure or a pain, and he always chose to make us happy." "Interesting that he chose to make your life happy," said the spirit. "Yes, it is," said Scrooge, wishing at that moment that he could talk to his own people at work, Bob Cratchit. Scrooge is beginning to regret everything he's done in his life. The spirit clicked his fingers again, and suddenly a new scene came around them. A pretty young lady was crying, handing a ring to a very sad young man sitting next to her. "You are no longer the boy that I loved. You're only interested in money and gold. You have become a grasping, cold man." But wealth is really important for the future, said the young man in the scene. Love and goodness are more important, and they're dying with you. I cannot marry you anymore. The older Scrooge was now seeing the younger Scrooge, and the younger Scrooge had been left by the lady who no longer wanted to marry him. The older Scrooge fell to his knees and started sobbing. Please stop, said the older Scrooge. I can't bear to see it anymore. The spirit turned away and put on his hat, and all of a sudden, the light coming out of his head disappeared, and Scrooge was left alone in his cold, dark bedroom. He cried himself to sleep. Scrooge woke himself up again with a very loud snore. He looked at the clock. His alarm turned to amazement when, for the second time that night, the clock struck 1. Dong! Scrooge was worrying about what was going to happen next. He'd already met the spirit of Jacob Marley, and then he'd met the ghost of Christmas past. He just needed this night to be over, and he could go back to being miserable, miserly Scrooge. Scrooge poked one foot out of the bed. He stood up, trembling. He opened the door slightly to have a look to see if anyone was outside on the landing. All of a sudden, the door burst open. A jolly giant of a man strode into the room. He was carrying a glowing torch, and the light from the torch filled the whole room. I was going to turn the light on then, but it was already on. The man's magnificent green robe was bordered with fur. His long, dark, curly hair framed his friendly face. I am the ghost of Christmas present. His glorious voice rang out. You've met the ghost of Christmas past. I am the ghost of Christmas present, which is now. And his eyes sparkled. Please teach me to be better. Please teach me, said Scrooge. I think I'm learning well. Follow me, laughed the spirit. I will take you somewhere else. They went outside, where the damp morning mist and the dirty melting snow framed a gloomy London scene. At the same time, though, it felt like there was an air of happiness and cheerfulness. People were shoveling the snow away and making snowballs. People were bustling between brightly lit, glowing shops, and people ran and dashed about, forgetting the sadness that they might have and being full of Christmas spirit and love. Inside the shops, oh, what a sight! Onions sat in their baskets. French plums blushed modestly, and shelves of rosy apples flirted with customers. Turkey and goose hung deliciously from the rails, waiting the chance to grace a family's Christmas table. Baskets clattered, cash tills chinged, people forgot their purchases and came dashing back, laughing at their mistakes. The church bells rang their invitation and the crowds flocked towards them, heading to the centre of their Christmas joy. It was Christmas Day, and the ghost of Christmas present watched it all with a big smile. And so did Scrooge. The spirit took Scrooge a few streets down to where Bob Cratchit lived, and they saw him walking towards the front door, carrying a small boy on his shoulders. They followed him into his kitchen. Now remember, Scrooge is with another ghost, looking at what's happening at Christmas time, but they can't see Scrooge. Scrooge is a bit like another ghost looking at these people. They can't see him, but he can see them. It's a bit like a dream. Scrooge felt that his nose was not big enough to smell all those wonderful smells and aromas from the kitchen. The goose, although it wasn't very big, not big enough to feed the family, was sat ready to be carved by Bob. The vegetables bubbled excitedly and the pudding steamed and steamed, and those wonderful smells circled Scrooge's nostrils. They smelled delicious. Bob Cratchit's happy wife, with her worn-out clothes on, in her poor, cold house, was happy and cheery, and she was making brandy butter, while their eldest daughter, stirred the gravy, and their eldest son checked the water for the potatoes. The family were so happy to be together, and the two younger Cratchits ran around the kitchen. In the other room, it was not so happy. The little boy who was on Bob Cratchit's shoulders had now come off, and it was Tiny Tim, and he was helping his father to prepare the table. Tiny Tim was a pale, frail little boy, but he had the face of an angel. Scrooge noticed that Tiny Tim was not walking well and needed a crutch to help him along, and his weak legs had been strapped into iron frames. We're going to stop there. Scrooge has now been to visit Christmas when he was a boy. He's now visiting Christmas that he never normally sees. I think that Scrooge is changing his mind about life. We'll find out the rest next week, okay? Straight into Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence. It's a very exciting one this week. Will they get to cheer or will they get to boo? With either one there must not be violence. They may well get to song, but it will not last that long. We really hope they do not get silence. Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence studio. Foundation Stage are going to come in here soon to do their PE lesson, which is why the cones are out, so please don't think it's anything special for Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence. Anyway, I tell you what is special. Behind the curtain, I have a visitor to the school. His name is Alex, and I kid you not, Alex is a cognitive scientist. His job is to study the brain and study memory, and you know how excited we are about memory at this school. When Alex came, I said, please do me the honour of Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence, and he said yes. Anyway, what do we think he's going to get? Is he going to get a cheer, a boo, a song or silence? I mean, it would be awful if he got one of the worst ones, wouldn't it? He's a visitor. Anyway, the luck is in the cards. Okay. Out you come, Alex! Oh. Sorry. I can't believe it. We literally get a cognitive scientist in school and he gets us silent. I wonder how the crowd react to that. Anyway, the luck is in the cards. Okay. Out you come, Alex! I'm gonna have to go home. I can't bring a visitor here and then them get a silence. And he's a cognitive scientist. Okay, this is probably the last Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence. Will they get to cheer or will they get to boo? With either one there must not be violence. They may well get to song, but it will not last that long. We really hope they do not get silence. It's not very often we get a visitor to do Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence, but it makes it so exciting when it happens. Okay, just a shame it was silent, but it is what it is. Okay, shout outs. First of all, massive Stukeley shout out to brother and sister, Oscar and Phoebe. Oscar's in year 5, Phoebe's in year 2. They entered this art competition. And they won. And their pictures, their paintings have been displayed in parks in Huntingdon. Here are the pictures that they did. Well done, both of you. We know how artistic you are, we know how much you love art, and you've done a fantastic job there. We're very proud. Well done. Okay, we're going to move now straight into that festive bit in assembly. I love this music. I completely forgot to say, no birthdays today. I hadn't forgotten to check, I promise. Right, first of all, anyone seen the advent window? Remember, if you spot it in school and you need to go back and check at home, work out which part of the video it's in and you can find it much more quickly. Check it out, these letters are coming every day. Before we do Christmas messages, I know what we need to do, Advent chimney, and yes, it's one of our days, it's a multiple of 3 where the big guy drops down. Here he is. Here's Santa. Watch carefully. Number 9. Yes! We're getting closer, everyone. We are getting closer. Come on! Okay, a few Christmas messages, loads more to come. Here we go. To Willow class, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year soon. That's from Elijah in year 3. Brilliant one from Elijah there. To Magnolia class, Merry Christmas from Zara in year 1. Absolutely beautiful Christmas message there. And this one, we've got another painting. I love the paintings. Look at this. We've got some wonderful baubles there. And then we've got that. And that one is to Mr. Singletary, Happy Christmas from Gustavs in year 1. What a wonderful picture. These will all go onto the board in the hall. They won't go on here because I'll get in loads of trouble from Mr. Singletary. I mean literally loads. Okay, I think if we've done the Advent chimney, we've talked about the Advent window, and we've done the Christmas messages, it's time for most important 60 seconds. The most important 60 seconds are coming up now. The most important 60 seconds are coming up now. Okay. We haven't got long before we break up for Christmas. We've got 2 more days this week and then 5 more days, and that's it. We've only got 7 more school days before we break up. Don't leave things late. If you want a Christmas message to go out in assembly, get it in now so I've got time to prepare it before I read it out. And you want to see it stuck on the wall. Not this one, the other one. Okay? If you are not doing keeping up with your times tables rock stars and your AR reading and your quizzing, if you're not keeping up with it, you might have to spend some of your playtimes or lunchtimes catching up next week. No one wants to miss out on playtimes. So come on, make the most of every minute of the Christmas festive time in schools. Please remember that these next few days are going to be busy, they're going to go quickly. If there's things you want to do, if there are cards you want to write or messages you want to give, get them in.